ever think about, like, what matters most at the end of life? Well, today, we're going to Taiwan to explore some really honest conversations about death and dying and also celebrating life. It's from a podcast called John Chat. Let's Chat with John.
Oh, interesting.
Episode 11.
Oh,
So this podcast, hosted by Professor John from National Taiwan Normal University, and he actually won a Golden Bell Award.
Wow.
In 2024.
That's a big deal.
The highest honor for Taiwanese radio programs.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that Professor John, he really wants to keep his show raw.
Oh, wow.
And unedited.
Okay.
To keep the conversations as authentic and unscripted as possible. Especially when talking about sensitive topics like death.
That makes a lot of sense.
So really refreshing to hear these kind of conversations presented this way.
Yeah, I agree.
So the guest on this episode is Ms. Wu Yuan.
All right.
She's the deputy director of Dat Eye television station.
Okay.
And she brings a really interesting perspective.
Okay.
Shaped by her own personal experiences.
Oh, wow.
She talks about the unexpected deaths of her best friend and her father.
Oh, wow.
And neither of them had made any end-of-life plans.
And before they...
Totally unprepared.
Yeah, so it's... These losses were really profound turning points for her. So she talks about all the emotional turmoil and like the hard decisions she faced when her father was hospitalized.
I see.
He ended up going through what they call the full course of medical interventions.
Oh, wow. What does that mean?
Basically, he received every possible treatment.
Oh, wow.
Even when his chances of recovery were slim.
I see.
It's really hard to imagine going through that. Yeah.
Without any guidance from your loved one.
Like not knowing what they would have wanted.
Right.
Wow.
I was wondering if she explained what that full course entailed.
Yeah.
What were they doing?
Well, she doesn't go into like specific medical details, but it sounds like very aggressive treatment. It was probably a bunch of life support machines.
Oh, yeah.
Intensive care.
Right.
Maybe even experimental therapies.
Wow. So it really shows how medical technology can prolong life.
Exactly.
But not necessarily improve its quality.
Right. Like you can keep someone alive.
Yeah.
But are they actually living?
And that's the real question, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if her father, if he would have chosen that path.
Right.
If he had been able to say what he wanted beforehand. Which brings us to the main point. That both Mrs. Wu and Professor John emphasize throughout the conversation. These hard decisions shouldn't be made in the heat of the moment. Like driven by fear and desperation.
I see.
They think you should talk about this and plan ahead while you're healthy and sound mind. So they're saying be proactive about end-of-life planning.
Right. Don't wait for a crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Not just react when it hits. They're saying that this is a way to take back control
I see.
over your final chapter. To make sure that your wishes are honored. And to help your loved ones. So they don't have to make these choices for you.
Excruciating choices,
I guess that makes sense. But I'm wondering, is there a risk of getting caught up in the details and then you miss out on just like living your life, right? You know, I mean, who wants to spend all day thinking about death?
Nobody wants to be obsessed with death.
No.
Right.
It's a good point. And Professor John, he addresses that directly. He says he doesn't want people to be obsessed with death. But he does want us to like integrate these conversations into our lives more naturally.
Make it more normal.
He even suggests using simple things like car rides with your family.
Oh, interesting.
To like bring up these topics.
I like that.
Right. I mean, it takes the pressure off from like having a formal sit down discussion.
Not like a business meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
So I'm curious if Miss Wu, if she shares how she does that with her own family. And she does.
Oh, great.
And it's really simple.
Okay.
So after that really tragic Taroko train derailment in Taiwan, which, you know, really showed how sudden death can be,
Right.
she decided to write her will.
I see.
And in her will,
Yeah.
she outlined her wishes. She wants a simple cremation.
Okay.
She wants a nice gathering with loved ones. And most importantly,
Yeah.
she refuses any life-prolonging interventions
I hear.
if her quality of life is
Yeah.
irreversibly bad. So that's pretty brave
Yeah.
and forward-thinking, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like she's really taking those hard experiences and made them into something that can make change.
Yeah. Right. A catalyst for change.
Yeah, for herself,
Yeah.
but also for other people. So she doesn't just stop there.
Yep.
She encourages other people to take these same steps.
Okay.
And she really emphasizes that it's important to not just have it in writing,
Right.
but also to talk to your family about it.
Okay.
She even calls it a gift
I see.
to your loved ones to prevent them from having to guess what she would have wanted.
Yeah.
That's a very compassionate way to look at it.
Right.
So did she mention like any practical steps people can take to start these conversations?
Yeah.
Or to like write a will?
Right.
She does.
Oh, good.
She says that she was actually hesitant at first to sign what they call an advance directive, which is a legal document outlining your healthcare wishes.
Okay.
You know, in specific situations.
I see.
So she thought it was going to be complicated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And expensive.
Okay.
But her company actually organized a
Okay.
group signing session
Oh, wow.
to make it easier
Okay.
and cheaper.
That's great.
So it sounds like her workplace
Yeah.
is being proactive about encouraging these conversations.
Should be encouraging. Yeah.
And Professor John and Ms. Wu, they want more people to use advance directives,
Okay.
especially at work,
I see.
because they think it's a win-win for employees and employers.
Makes sense.
So now we've got the emotional preparation
Right.
and the legal side kind of covered.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of curious about those life-prolonging interventions
Right.
that she refuses.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. Good question.
Like, are there different options?
Yeah.
I mean, what does she actually refuse?
Yeah.
There were different levels.
Okay.
And Miss Wu and her siblings, they all chose the most comprehensive level of refusal in their advance directives, which means that if they can't make decisions for themselves, like if they're incapacitated, doctors have to prioritize their comfort and dignity over keeping them alive at all costs.
I see.
So she's really saying quality of life is more important than quantity, right?
Right.
Wants to spend her final days with dignity and peace, surrounded by loved ones,
Right.
not hooked up to machines.
Yeah. Powerful statement.
And this came from her experience watching her father suffer for so long while he was connected to all these life support machines. She talks about how hard it was to watch him decline like that.
Yeah.
And she knew he was probably in pain, even with the interventions.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a really raw and honest
Yeah.
account of what can happen
Yeah.
if you don't have those conversations
Right.
ahead of time. And then she tells this really interesting story
Yeah.
about her colleague
Okay.
whose mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
I see.
And Ms. Wu, drawing on her own experience,
Yeah.
encouraged her colleague
Okay.
to talk to the doctor about quality of life
Okay.
and to look into palliative care.
I see.
So I'm really curious to hear more about that. Like, what is palliative care?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't really know what that means.
Right.
She does explain it.
Oh, good.
That's a really important part of her message. Palliative care is all about comfort
Okay.
and improving quality of life for people with serious illnesses, even incurable ones.
Right.
So it's not about giving up.
Right.
It's about shifting the focus from fighting the disease to managing symptoms, providing emotional support, and making sure that the patient's wishes are honored.
I see.
So it's a more
Right. So it's not just about the physical body.
holistic approach
Right.
that looks at the whole person.
Yeah. Exactly.
And in this case,
Yeah.
with her colleague's mother, the results were amazing.
Oh,
she was able to live a good life for several months.
Wow.
Before passing peacefully.
Okay.
At home with her family.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Which is a really beautiful contrast to her father's experience, right? Where they were just focused on extending life at any cost.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it meant, you know, making him uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. It really highlights the potential of palliative care to provide a more peaceful, dignified end of life.
Yeah.
But what about the people who aren't ready to give up hope?
Yeah, what if they still think they can be cured?
Right.
How do you find that balance between fighting for life and accepting its limits?
Yeah.
That's where talking to your doctor is so important. Ms. Wu and Professor John, they emphasize that you should get multiple opinions.
Right, right.
When you have serious health issues.
Different doctors.
Because doctors, they all have different perspectives and training.
Yeah.
So you got to gather information.
Yeah.
And understand your options to make good decisions that are in line with what you want.
Yeah.
Basically, take control of your own healthcare journey.
Right.
And advocate for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a powerful message that comes up again and again in this conversation.
Don't be afraid
to
ask questions. Get different perspectives.
Yeah.
Speak up for yourself.
Right.
It's about reclaiming your power.
Yeah.
Even when things are really hard.
Right, exactly. Even in the toughest situations.
So I'm really struck by their courage and vulnerability in sharing these stories.
Yeah.
It can't be easy to talk about death.
No.
But they're doing it with so much grace and honesty.
Yeah, very gracefully.
And I think that's why their message is really resonating with people. They're not shying away from the tough emotions around death.
Right.
But they're also giving practical advice.
Okay.
And telling people to take action.
Yeah. So it's a nice balance of personal reflection and practical advice.
And that part about reframing our perspective on death.
Right, right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
They're asking us to see death not as something to be scared of.
Right.
But as just part of life. Something we can prepare for and maybe even find peace in.
Right.
So that's where the analogy of death as a graduation comes in.
Okay.
They want us to think of end of life.
Right.
Like a graduation ceremony.
I like that.
Not something to dread.
Yeah.
But something to plan and celebrate.
Yeah, celebration of life.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of shifts the focus from fear and loss to acceptance and celebration.
And it puts the power back in our hands.
Yeah.
So we can make sure it reflects our values, our wishes, and the legacy we want to leave behind.
Makes sense.
It's so easy to get caught up in everyday life and just push these thoughts away.
Yeah.
But like Mrs. Wu said, you never know who's going to go first.
That's a good point.
Which reminds us that we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
So they're saying we should have these hard conversations now while we're still healthy.
Yeah.
To make these choices for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not about being morbid.
Yeah.
It's about being prepared.
Right. Huh.
It's about taking control of your story.
Yeah.
Even when you don't know
what
the future holds.
Right. Yeah.
Which is actually kind of hopeful, right?
Yeah. Empowering.
It's like finding peace.
Yeah.
Even in the uncertainty of life and death.
Right.
So I got to ask, have you thought about your own graduation ceremony?
Well, honestly, this conversation has gotten me thinking about it more seriously. I haven't planned anything specific, but the idea of celebrating, saying goodbye, expressing gratitude, I really like that idea.
It's a really powerful concept, you know, focusing on the beauty of a life instead of the sadness of it ending.
Right.
And it's a decision you can make for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So that your loved ones don't have to guess what you wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about crafting a meaningful ending to a life well lived.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One that honors your values.
Right.
And brings comfort to the people you leave behind.
Yeah, I think that's a message that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, across cultures, it's universal.
We all want a peaceful and meaningful end.
Right.
This whole conversation's been so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that a simple podcast can make you think so deeply of life and death.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the power of personal stories.
Yeah.
And honest dialogue.
It really makes you think, huh?
Yeah, it does.
It's like they planted a seed of awareness, intentionality, and like a renewed appreciation for life.
I like that.
And maybe even a little bit more courage to have these conversations ourselves.
With our own loved ones.
So they're saying we can't control it. Right.
When we graduate.
Yeah.
But we can shape the ceremony.
Right.
And that's what this episode is all about.
I like that.
Choosing to live intentionally. Right up until the end.
I love that. Yeah.
So I'm curious, Professor John said that death isn't the end. It's a new beginning.
Right.
What do you think he meant by that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that people have been thinking about for a long time.
Yeah.
Philosophers, theologians. I think he's getting at the idea that there's something beyond our physical existence.
Right.
Something we can't fully grasp.
Yeah, like maybe there's this sense of connection that continues on. Expert.
It's so interesting how they bring in cultural stuff.
Yeah.
With their own personal stories. They even talk about how different cultures look at death.
Yeah. Like Professor John said, in some European countries, they actually teach about death in school.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Kids learning about mortality right alongside math and science.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But the idea is that if you talk about death more openly, make it less taboo, then you won't be so scared of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I feel like in the West, we try to protect kids from death.
Yeah, make it this big, scary, unknown thing.
Right.
But then when they actually experience it,
lame.
It's even scarier.
Yeah.
So if they make it normal, then they'll have a better perspective on life.
Yeah, like it's all part of the natural cycle.
It is. Death is a reality.
Right.
But it doesn't have to control you.
Yeah. And Ms. Wu, she talked about, how her son saw his grandmother's funeral as a graduation ceremony.
Right. I remember that.
Which I think says a lot about how talking openly about death can really shape how a kid sees it.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
To think of death as a transition, right? A celebration of a life. It takes away some of that sting.
Yeah.
And replaces it with peace, maybe even joy.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it goes back to that idea of planning your own graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership, right, of that last chapter. Making sure it reflects your values, approaching it with grace, intention.
Yeah.
Instead of fear.
Right. Don't avoid it.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
So easy to just push those thoughts away.
I know.
In everyday life. But like Ms. Wu said, you never know who's going to go first. Oh, that's so true.
It's a good reminder that none of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
You just never know.
So they're saying, have those conversations now.
Yeah.
While you can.
Right. While you're healthy.
While you're able to make those choices.
Yeah.
It's not about being morbid.
Yeah.
It's about being prepared.
Exactly.
It's about taking control, even when you don't know what's going to happen.
It's hard, though.
It is, but it's also hopeful, right?
Right.
Like, it's empowering.
Yeah. Finding that peace in the uncertainty.
Exactly.
So, I got to ask, what about you? Have you thought about your own graduation ceremony?
Well, I will say, this deep dive has definitely made me think about it.
Yeah.
More seriously.
Yeah.
I haven't planned any specifics or anything. But I love the idea of approaching it as a celebration.
Yeah.
A chance to say goodbye, to express gratitude. That really resonates with me.
It's such a powerful idea, isn't it?
It is.
Choosing to focus on the beauty of a life instead of the sadness.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a choice you can make. So that your loved ones don't have to struggle with it later.
Yeah.
It's about creating a meaningful ending to a life well-lived.
Exactly.
Honoring your values, bringing comfort.
Yeah, and I think that's something that goes beyond cultural boundaries, right?
I think so.
I mean, we might have different rituals and traditions around death.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all want that peace and meaning.
Yeah.
This whole conversation has been really powerful.
Yeah. Really thought-provoking. I mean, who would have thought a podcast could make you think so deeply about life and death?
It really shows the power of personal stories.
Right.
Honest dialogue.
I have a feeling we're going to be thinking about this for a while.
I think so, too.
It's like they planted a seed
Yeah.
of awareness, intentionality, appreciation for life.
And even that courage to have those conversations with our loved ones.
Yeah.
So they're saying, we can't control when we go, but we can control how we approach it.
I love that.
And that's really what this episode is all about.
Living intentionally.
Yeah.
Right to the very end.
So, before we wrap up, I got to ask you.
Okay.
Professor John said that death isn't the end. It's a new beginning.
Right.
What do you think he meant by that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it's something that people have pondered for centuries.
Philosophers, theologians. I think it's that idea that there's more than just our physical existence.
Yeah.
Like something bigger.
Exactly. It's that sense of wonder that there might be something more that goes beyond what we can understand.
So you're saying there's this possibility that something continues even after our bodies are gone.
Right.
And maybe even a sense of purpose.
Yeah. That extends beyond our own lives.
Yeah.
It's comforting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
To think that we're part of something larger.
Yeah.
That even though our bodies have an end, our essence, our spirit might continue.
Yeah. It reminds us that we're all connected. Part of a bigger tapestry of life.
And that even though our physical journey ends, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the absolute end.
This whole conversation has been so interesting.
It has.
So many layers.
We've talked about personal stories, practical advice, cultural differences, even philosophical ideas.
I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, me too.
Of these big topics.
But that's what's so great about deep dives.
Yeah.
It sparks new ideas, new paths to explore.
Keeps the conversation going. Even after the episode's over.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners feel inspired to think about their own values, their own wishes, and how they want to approach this part of life.
I think we've reached the end of our deep dive, but like you said, the conversation doesn't have to end here.
We hope you keep exploring.
Learning.
Talk to your loved ones.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe how much one conversation can spark so much thought.
I know. It's like they gave us this whole new way to think about life and death.
You really did.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Wu and Professor John, they've given us some amazing insights, encouraging us to be more proactive about end-of-life planning.
Yeah. Take control.
Yeah. They reminded us that we have choices, like writing a will. Looking into palliative care, making sure our wishes are followed.
With advanced directives.
It's all about taking control of your story, even when you don't know what's coming. And they want us to rethink death, not as something scary, but as a transition. A graduation.
Into something new. Like a new adventure.
That graduation ceremony idea is just so powerful. It really changes how you feel about end-of-life planning.
It's not so scary anymore.
It's more about celebrating life, leaving a legacy.
Leaving your mark.
Finding peace and acceptance. For yourself and for the people you love.
Yeah, exactly.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about. I feel like I'm ready to have those hard conversations.
Yeah, it's time.
With my loved ones. Not out of fear.
Right.
But out of love and respect.
Exactly.
Miss Wu and Professor John, they've really given us a guide.
A roadmap.
Yeah, to navigate this part of life that we often avoid.
Right. We don't like to talk about it.
They remind us that we have more control.
Yeah, more than we realize.
Than we think.
Yeah, we can shape our end-of-life experience.
And they were so open and honest
Yeah.
about their own journeys.
It's inspiring.
It is.
Yeah.
And it makes their message even more powerful.
I agree. They're reminding us that it's a universal experience.
Yeah.
We might have different traditions, but wanting a peaceful end is something we all share.
So our deep dive is coming to an end.
Yeah.
But we hope the conversations started to keep talking.
Yeah, maybe it's time to look at some old photos, share some stories, talk to your loved ones.
Yeah.
Not with fear, but with love, curiosity, a sense of shared journey.
I love that.
Embrace life.
Yeah.
From beginning to end.
Every moment.
Approach each chapter with intention and grace. So well said.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
On this journey.
Yeah.
We hope this deep dive empowers you to embrace life and to approach its end with a sense of peace and purpose.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,
keep growing,
and keep those conversations going.
Absolutely.